Since his retirement, we've gotten to know The Undertaker a lot better through his podcast appearances and interviews. Turns out, Mark Calloway is a pretty chill dude. He was in WWE for decades, and hardly anyone had a bad word to say about him. That's saying something, right? And it's not just one-sided. Taker rarely had anything bad to say about others either. But, of course, there are always exceptions. In this video, we're diving deep to find those wrestlers who, in one way or another, seriously pissed him off. The Undertaker got the measure of Hulk Hogan early in his WWF career. It was during a match at Survivor Series in 1991, just a year after his debut, where they wrestled in the main event for the WWF Championship. Taker delivered a tombstone piledriver, and Hogan claimed the move injured his neck. Hogan told anyone who would listen that he was hurt, and it was The Undertaker's fault.
He's like, well, brother, what it was you had me so tight that when we came down, I had nowhere to move, and that's what jammed my neck, because I couldn't move at all.
You'll see the move was executed perfectly. Taker's knees hit the mat, and Hogan's head was a good few inches off the ground. The Undertaker was stunned, worried for days that he'd injured the most legendary wrestler in WWF history. They worked together again in the future, but Taker never trusted him, respecting Hogan's place in the business while keeping him at arm's length. A couple of years later, The Undertaker was in a feud with Giant Gonzalez. Their relationship was strained from the start. Gonzalez, brought into the WWF in 1993, was supposed to be a major attraction due to his size, but his awkwardness and lack of basic wrestling skills quickly became a problem. Their match at WrestleMania 9 was supposed to be a spectacle, but turned into a disaster. Taker had to carry the entire match, trying to make it look good, while avoiding getting hurt by Gonzalez's clumsiness. They wrestled dozens of house show matches in 1993, and eventually, Gonzalez caused an injury to The Undertaker. Taker explained, "Every time he'd pull me down, grabbing me by the back of my head, expecting a shot across the shoulder blades, he'd hit me across the back of the neck. I was patient as long as I could be. 5 seconds in, he pulls me down and cracks me across the neck. Once I got feeling back in my fingers because I was getting stingers, I flipped. I turned around and started wailing on him. He had no clue. I hit him so fast and so many times that he couldn't defend himself. I ended up getting out of the ring. It was a count out. He came back, lumped up, and they held me back. I'd lost it." Brock Lesnar also managed to piss off Taker during his first run in the company. Lesnar was pushed hard as the next big thing, but decided to leave WWE in 2004, upsetting many backstage, including Taker. Taker had helped establish Lesnar as a main event superstar, and his sudden departure made all that work seem wasted. Things seemed heated between the men at UFC 121. Lesnar had just lost to Cain Velasquez, and Taker was in the crowd. They came face to face, and it looked like they might come to blows. Lesnar mentioned in his autobiography that he liked working with Taker, but admitted they had personal differences. Undertaker later clarified that the UFC incident was partly a work set up by Vince McMahon to entice Lesnar back to WWE, which eventually led to their WrestleMania match. And we all know how that one ended. Shawn Michaels was notoriously difficult to work with back in the day and managed to rub The Undertaker the wrong way too. By 1997, Taker was a respected locker room leader, while Michaels was at his most obnoxious. Their tensions peaked during the infamous Montreal Screwjob. Taker was furious with how Vince McMahon handled the situation and confronted him in his office. Michaels, terrified of Taker's wrath, hid. The tension continued into WrestleMania season when Steve Austin was set to beat Michaels for the WWF Championship. Rumors circulated that Michaels didn't want to do business, so Taker took matters into his own hands. He taped up his fists, cornered Michaels, and told him to follow through with the plan or else. Michaels complied, and the match went as planned. Years later, their relationship improved, and The Undertaker even retired Michaels in 2010. But back in the 90s, things were tense. Taker once said, "Where Shawn Michaels and I are today, and where we were back then on a personal level, it's taken a complete 360. If Shawn Michaels back then were on fire, I probably wouldn't piss on him to put him out." Another big man, Mabel, caused Taker an injury back in the 90s. Mabel had recently won the King of the Ring tournament and was being given a massive push, though many felt he wasn't ready for the main event. Weighing over 500 pounds, Mabel was a hazard in the ring. During a match with The Undertaker, he delivered a botched leg drop, resulting in a broken orbital bone for Taker, a serious injury that sidelined him for weeks. According to Mabel's tag team partner, Mo, there was a lot of yelling and screaming between Taker and Mabel backstage, but no physical fight. Taker, as the locker room leader, felt it was his responsibility to correct the young wrestlers. Mabel left WWF soon after, but was rehired and repackaged as Viscera. Taker insisted that Viscera be put in his Ministry of Darkness faction, just so he didn't have to face him in the ring again. Are there any moments that we missed? Let us know in the comments below, and when you're done, check out our other video, taking a look at the controversial billion-dollar princess known as Stephanie McMahon.